How's it going, guys? Andrew here with Justified EDC, and I've got an overview video here for you guys on, this is kind of three different versions of the same knife. These are all from Gypsy EDC over on Instagram. Will leave links to his Instagram page and his website in the description of this video, but big thank you to Aaron from Gypsy EDC for sending these over for me to check out. These are three different models. It's three different versions of this same one of his models, the Tego. And these are his personal knives that he sent over so that I could actually use them to do a review on them. So this is not going to be the full review, and quite honestly, I probably will only do a full review of this one, and I'll get into why later. But I wanted to give an overview of all of these and just give a big thank you to him for sending these over for me. These are not mine to keep. These are his personal knives that he sent over, so these will be going back to him after the review is done. But before we get into this, before we get into specs and size comparisons and all of that good stuff, just have to go ahead and thank the sponsor of the channel, Auxiliary Manufacturing. Michael over there is a great guy, and again, I forgot to thank him for sponsoring in the last video I did on the Tour Knives Merchant, but big thank you to him for sponsoring the video. I forgot to grab the knife out here, but he makes some really cool custom fixed blades. The one I got on hand right now is his Sumi model, cool little hawk bill. Offensive Industries deep carry pocket sheath. So he makes some really awesome custom fixed blades. He won an award last year at Blade Show West. He will be at Blade Show again this year. So definitely, if you're there, go check him out. I'll have links to his pages down in the description. And as always, thank you for sponsoring the channel. So let's get right into these here. I'm just going to quick take all of these out of their sheaths just so you can get a comparison on the size. And then I will run through specs on these. We'll do some size comparisons, and we'll kind of talk about carry and use that I have experienced thus far. So this is 3 out of the 4 options you can get on this model. Again, this is the Tego model from him. So this is the XL, which is a 4-inch blade. You have the 3-inch blade here. This is like the normal size. There is a missing one here, which is the full-size handle with the short blade, but this is the mini Tego right there. I believe this is a 2-inch, yeah, just over 2 inches, like 2¼ inches. But yeah, so there is another model that he does in between these two that has this handle with this blade, which ironically, if I was going to get one of these for myself, it would probably either be this big one or actually the one that's missing here, because I really like that kind of like 4-inch handle with the short blade, but I digress. All very cool. So again, I will get into some specs here. This is, again, the XL. You have a 4-inch blade, and then your handle is 4 inches. The full size is 3-inch blade with a 4-inch handle. The intermediate one here would be that 2-inch blade with the 4-inch handle. And then here you have the just over 2-inch blade with a, let's see, what are we getting here? Just under 3.5 inches. So like 3¼ inch handle. All very similar in terms of design. Obviously, you can tell that they are variations on the theme, but I would say for very different purposes depending on the size that you pick and the grind that you pick as well. On the XL here, you have a full flat grind with a secondary bevel, which is kind of my preferred grind for this. And then these two have a shorter, like, convex grind. This one has a fuller, and actually when I'm looking at this here, this might be, I was almost thinking it was like a full height convex grind with the fuller ground into it, but it looks like this swedge or the flat or whatever that is up here is at a different angle than the rest of the bevel. So I could be wrong, but there might be like a hair of a micro bevel on there, but mostly a convex grind. And then this one is definitely a convex grind there. You can see that. And as you can see by some of the discoloration on the blades, these are all ADC RV2. Which is not a fully stainless steel. So you're going to have to take care of these knives, clean them off, put some oil on them. Again, these aren't my knives, so I haven't been oiling them up, but this one does have a little bit of surface rust. Again, nothing that's a big deal. You could easily remove that, but these are also users. So I have no idea if he was using these before. They're definitely all used. And if you follow Aaron on Instagram, you can see that he's really into homesteading and preparation and that kind of stuff. So he really does use his knives pretty hard. So that's why you're going to see some of the surface finishes and wear marks that you see on these. Most of the wear marks are from him, not from me, but I have carried some of these and used them a bit, especially this XL one. And you know, I'm going to save that. I'm going to save my personal thoughts until after I give you the size comparisons. But one other thing is just, these are all cord wrapped handles, very thin profile, but still giving you an excellent grip and hand. On the XL, you can kind of do all of your standard grips because the handle is neutral enough and because of how the wrap covers all of your sharp edges. On these, it's not as comfortable to do kind of reverse grips. Your reverse grip edge in is a little bit hindered by some sharp corners here, which I'll talk about later, but your standard edge out grips, both in reverse grip and forward grip, as well as kind of forward grip edge in, is decently comfortable. And then this one is pretty much only comfortable in your forward grip edge out. And I guess edge in is fine too, but the reverse grips don't work as well with this one. I don't have as much to kind of palm cap there, or not palm cap, thumb cap, especially with that exposed pommel there. But before I get into my personal feelings on the knives and the use and all of that, I'll pull out some size comparisons here. So we'll start with some fixed blades. Let's see. I'm going to just kind of put them in the middle and you guys can kind of just visualize for yourself. So this is a BW Knives Erebus, the full size. I'll pull this one out of my pocket. This is what I have in my pocket today. This is the BW Knives Erebus Short. I'm going to pull these down here so you can get all these on screen. There we go. You can kind of see the size range you're working with. Let's see what else. We have the Offensive Industries Varger, very similar in overall length and size. This one's a little bit wider, but the normal size Tego is very similar to the Varger. And then let's throw in the Sosby Cub. This is the Chicago Cub, so a shorter blade. But there you can see that. And then as I'm putting these away, I'm going to stall and kind of ramble, and then I will pull out some folders for you guys to look at, putting all these knives back here. So let's pull out some folders, shall we? Here is the Emerson EX100. Here is the Emerson Elvia, which I will touch on this later. This is also from this thumb stud here is from Gypsy EDC as well. Let's see, because I've been talking about it so much recently, here is the Tor Knives Merchant. And then some old standbys here. Where is what drawer do I have this knife in? I got a new tool chest here, and I am slowly working through how I want my organization. Here is this is a Gonzo, but it is the exact same profile as a Delica, so Spyderco Delica, very similar, very common that a lot of people would know. And one more, the old standby. Where's my Buck 110? All right, here is the old Buck 110. So I'm actually get this out of here and put this down here. Overall size, Buck 110, not too dissimilar to the XL Tego there. But I feel like that will do it for size comparisons. Hopefully that gave you a pretty good idea of the size of these knives. I try to pick things, guys, that both people that are kind of familiar with this fixed blade, small maker fixed blade community will understand, and also some people that are just getting into this kind of thing will understand, hence why I do some of the folders. Now that you have some size comparisons, I will get into kind of my experience using them and carrying them. One other thing I should mention here is the sheaths. These all come with, he calls them his Deep 6 sheaths, which are deep carry ambidextrous sheaths that can be carried inside the waistband or in the pocket. I'll pull all these out here so you can see them. You can see they are ambidextrous either side. Very similar to the Offensive Industry sheaths that I like quite a bit, so I was happy to see that these came with these sheaths. He does do some just standard fold-over sheaths if people want them, but I'm pretty sure when you custom order one of his knives, they pretty much come standard with the Deep 6 sheath at this point for most of the models, but again, clarify with him before you order. But yeah, all of these sheaths are pretty solid. Retention is good. No rattle on any of these, really. Yeah, retention is solid. It's not too hard to get in and out. The clips are solid. They're using Discrete Carry Concepts clips. And the only difference between, and I will pull out a offensive industry sheath here. This is the BW Knives Erebus Short with an offensive industry sheath. The only difference really on his sheaths are that he puts this guard here on the back, like that, whereas the offensive industries are just an open top flat across. You can see the difference there. Some of his I've seen the clip mounted a little bit lower, which I prefer the clip mounted just flush to the top of the sheath like that. These aren't too far off, but so the advantages and disadvantages of that, having the sheath a little bit higher and having that guard here in the back makes it easier to resheath the knives without cutting your pocket. The disadvantage is that you just have more sticking up out of your pocket, which again, not a huge deal. But it's something to be aware of. I find it more annoying when the clip is high, when the clip is above the sheath than below. Below is fine. It doesn't really do anything other than push a little bit more out of your pocket, but that's just something to be aware of here. So I'm gonna pull these back out here, and then I will tell you about my experience with these thus far. Now, I've had these for a couple weeks now, and again, apologies to Aaron for not getting this video out sooner. I'm realizing you guys don't know when I'm filming this, but I don't think this video will go live for a couple days until after I film this, just because I'm going to be away for a couple days. And I like to be able to respond to feedback and stuff like that after I post a video. So this should be going live on Monday, I believe. And so yeah, we will get into this here. So the one I carried the most, which surprised me, I really thought I was going to carry the mid-size or the smaller one the most, but the full size, just for several different reasons, is the one that stuck out to me. And I think if these had some of the same attributes as this one did, I might gravitate to the smaller size. But the full flat grind on this really drew me to this knife. It just performs better for the kind of task that I'm doing. If you're not familiar, a convex grind where you have that just straight taper down to the edge and no secondary bevel, it's really good for like push cuts on softer material, so like bushcraft stuff, a lot of outdoors use. People really prefer the convex grinds. They are just, in general, usually tougher. Now some of that is dependent on the steel and the heat treat as well. But just for what I do, I'm not like out in the bush every day for my daily life, which I can understand why he has these set up this way, because he does homesteading and stuff like that. So he is outside doing that kind of woodcraft and bushcraft and that kind of stuff on a daily basis. For me, the full flat grind works a little bit better. It makes it a little more slicey. I did break some cardboard down with this. I did some food prep with this. This blade shape did really, really solid with food prep. I mean, it's really just, if I do that, that's really just kind of a glorified kitchen knife shape. So you can see why that would perform well. The edge did come nice and sharp. There's a couple spots that are dull on it, on each of them. And again, I'm not faulting the knife for that. I'm sure if you get one brand new from him, that you won't have that problem. But again, these were used by him before I got them. I did have one of the full-size Tegos before. I don't have it anymore. I ended up trading it for something else. But when I got it, it was very sharp. I got it on the secondary market, but I don't think the person I got it from had ever really used it, and it was very sharp right out of the box. So just something to be aware of. The other thing I really like more on this, on the XL version as opposed to these, is that a lot of the sharp edges are covered. Now again, these are his personal knives, so I'm not judging these too harshly for a couple of reasons, but on the full size here, you have this piece of this corner here exposed that is pretty sharp, and then also here on the pommel, you have this piece that's sharp and exposed. So in your standard edge out grips, you don't really notice that all that much, and it's very comfortable. But as soon as you roll it into like a edge in grip, which again, these handles are more stylized for an edge out grip, which is fine. But when you try to do those edge in grips, especially the reverse grip edge in, that digs into my hand and this digs into my thumb. Like this one actually hurts. And again, I'm not faulting these for this. I'll explain that in a second. But this one also has the same problem where the pommel isn't wrapped. It's just exposed, so it has some sharp edges, so it's not the most comfortable to thumb cap. And when you kind of do your reverse grip edge in, you have the same thing of those 2 points digging into your hand. And the two reasons I don't really fault these specific knives for that are, one, they're his knives, so he has them set up how he wants. And I mean, again, the dude does homesteading all day, every day. So it doesn't, and knife making. So he probably has a lot tougher hands than most of us, so it might not bother him at all. But two, when I see the knives that he is posting to sell to other customers, and I see people tag him in pictures of their knives that they've received, this is not how they're done on the production ones that he's actually putting out. I've seen like even the smaller ones here where he has this completely capped with cord wrap. Same thing with here where he has a cord wrap. It looks like this one might actually have been replaced at one point where he didn't have the pommel covered and then he did this over wrap afterwards. But all the ones that I've seen going out, at least recently, have those corners covered, have the whole pommel covered. And then he's also starting to do the wrap where the wrap comes up and covers this as well, which it doesn't bother me on this one just because it's a larger knife. But again, on the newer ones, you can check out his Instagram. It looks like he's doing the wraps where all of those edges are covered. So I'm not going to knock I'm not going to knock the brand and all of the knives as a whole for that, just these specifically. And again, these weren't made for me. They were made for him. So I can't knock them super hard. But anyways, those were just kind of the issues that I ran into with these two specifically, which is something that kept me from carrying them as much, especially also with these having kind of a short convex grind. They're not as ideal for me for what I do with EDC. They would work, and when I did carry them, they did all right, but the full flat grind definitely serves my purposes a little bit better. But then the problem I ran into was I actually thought this wouldn't fit in my pocket, this really long one, because let's see, when you line this up here, the amount of sheath that's actually down in your pocket is like 7¼ inches. Usually when I get past, here's another knife that I had issues with this happening, the BW Knives Erebus, the full size. This you have like 6½ inches of sheath in the pocket. And some of my jeans, you couldn't get this seated fully down in. You kind of had to slide it into the front of the pocket, and even then it was tight in some pants. So when I got this, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to carry this inside the waistband because there's no way this is going to fit in my pocket. It actually does somehow. I don't know what kind of space magic he used to get the sheath to fit in your pocket, but I am actually able to pocket carry this. I wouldn't do it on a daily basis. If I got one of these full-size ones, I'd probably get it made with just a standard, like, lower riding ambi sheath so I could carry it inside the waistband. But like I said, this is working just fine. And if you wanted, like, a low profile inside the waistband carry where you can still carry a larger knife with very discreetly, this would be a great option. But yeah, that's why I kept coming back to the larger one, was just, again, these aren't set up the way I would ask to have these made if I was making a custom order for myself. I would probably do that in-between size right here with the full-size handle and the shorter blade, with a full flat grind, with the completely enclosed wrap where this is covered and this is covered, or maybe even some scales. He does these with scales as well. So if you don't like the wrap, there's a whole lot of options you can get. He does some of these he does a lot of different grinds on these, to the convex, to the full flat, to saber grinds. He's done some dagger grind ones. He's even done some crisp blade ones, that kind of curly blade. He's done some crisp blades. So there's a variation on a theme for pretty much anything you could want in this platform, just with a similar handle shape. So really good options. And that's one thing I really appreciate about these knives, is there are so many options that pretty much anything you want, you can get in this model. Now, the last thing I'll talk about, and I'm just going to mention it very briefly, is the elephant in the room. These look a lot like a Tracker Dan Blood Shark. Now, am I saying that these are a copy of the Tracker Dan Blood Shark? Not at all. And in fact, I have owned a Tracker, well, I didn't own one, I borrowed one from a friend, and I've handled some others at shows. And I had the full-size Tego and a Blood Shark in hand next to each other at the same time, maybe 2 years ago. And I can tell you and again, I might come across as biased, because if you've been following me on Instagram, you guys know I'm not really a big fan of Tracker Dan. It's kind of the drama he starts in the community and lots of other issues. Just, he thinks he owns a lot of designs that are very much inspired by other things. But all that being said, objectively speaking, sorry, the Tego is an upgraded version of the Blood Shark. The Blood Shark is too small. The handle is too small for, like, I don't have big hands. I wear a medium-sized glove, and the Blood Shark handle is too small for me. The finishing on the Blood Shark for the price that it goes for is kind of wild. Like, they're very roughly finished knives, and then he sells them for obscene amounts of money unless you get them at like table price at a show, and even then they're a little bit pricey. And there's also just kind of the fanboy market around Tracker Dan stuff. So I truly believe that these are kind of more inspired by the Blood Shark and have some changes to them that I enjoy better. The handle is a little bit longer, it's a little bit wider, it fills your hand a little bit better. There's a lot of options for blade shapes. I think his sheaths are better than Tracker Dan's sheaths. Discreet Carry Concepts clips are better than Tracker Dan clips every day of the week. The Tracker Dan sheaths are fine, but I think they have some issues. Again, I think Tracker Dan stuff is overpriced. So I will leave it up to you guys to judge. Are these not a knockoff, but are these towing the line a little bit too close to that design? Are they fine? Do you like them? What do you think? I'm not going to make that decision for you. That's something you as a grown adult have to make a decision for yourself. Personally, it doesn't bother me. I think these are an improvement over the Blood Shark design. And I like these, and I like Aaron a lot more than Tracker Dan. So those are my 2 cents. Love it or hate it. You can feel free to leave me hate comments. It will only fuel me to make more videos like this and to push my videos in the algorithm. So thanks for your hate comments. Always makes me happy to see those. So final thoughts here, guys. I really like these knives. I think they're a really solid option coming with really solid sheaths. A lot of times in this community, and it's getting a lot more prevalent to have these kinds of deep carry ambi sheaths that can be pocket carried. So that's becoming a lot more prevalent through people like Offensive Industries and Gypsy EDC. There's a couple other people that are starting to do their own versions, and a lot of makers that are going to these guys and to Offensive Industries for sheath work for their knives. So I'm really happy to see, again, another maker pushing the clear master race of Kydex sheaths, which is deep carry ambi sheaths. But I think they're really solidly made. I think there's a lot of options where you can get it kind of custom made to exactly what you need. Again, some of these might not be exactly my thing, these two especially, but I think they could be really great for someone, and clearly they are, because Aaron carries these and uses them quite often. So let me know what you guys think about these. If you want to see a full review on this guy, let me know. I will have to talk to Aaron to see when he needs to get these knives back. So depending on when he needs them back, I might not be able to do the full review, and I might have to get one for myself to do that. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.